Committee tonight. Guys, the Central Committee is your elected representatives throughout the county. There are 11 precincts in Camden County, of which there's a man and a woman that is elected to represent you in that township. So if you don't know those folks, after the August primary election, our reorganization's August 13th, get to know those. We will file that with the county clerk. And so all of our information will be readily available at the county level. So it's a great way to get connected. If you have some questions, any ideas, call your local committee man or committee woman. I'm usually easy to find. I'm right in the middle of Camdenton. I won't tell you where I'm at. But anyway, I am pretty easy to find. So are we about ready to go? All right, enough of Central Committee. Here we go.
Yeah, no, that was a good filibuster.
Didn't read the phone book.
Yeah, so we will start with opening statements, and we'll start with Jeff Vernetti, 2-minute introduction.
All right, thank you for having me. Thanks to the Central Committee, the Republican Club. Want to welcome everybody. This is another great turnout. I think Lisa and I would both agree it's wonderful to see this sort of Republican support. Whomever you vote for in any of the races is just wonderful to see. Thanks to Riverbird, what a great site this is. Thanks to their staff. My wife may want that sign that says 10 seconds left because she'll want to shut me up later, so this will be great. She's right back in the back. She may borrow that. But no, thank you so much for the opportunity. There's been a lot of friendly faces in the audience. I really appreciate the support. Obviously, this is a journey. It's a struggle. It's one of those things. It's tough for anyone in any elected office to run and step forward. So it's going to be a fun opportunity. A little bit just about myself. I know you'll hear more, but I oversee Ballparks National on the west side of the lake. My wife and I have an Italian grocery store in the Camden Square. She's a teacher at School of the Osage, and we're proud to raise our family here, bring jobs to the area, boost the economy, maybe put some tax dollars in the hands of the commissioners that they can help do some things with. But it has been just a joy and a privilege to live here, and looking forward to hopefully representing this district in this area.
Thank you. Well, next will be Representative Lisa Thomas, 2-minute introduction.
Good evening, everybody. It is absolutely a pleasure to be here. This is a wonderful facility, great weather, a little more breeze would be helpful, and maybe another fan in here. But other than that, it's phenomenal, and it is great to see so many faces. And so far, I see all the eyes are open. That's wonderful. So we hope you stay that way. We want to entertain and inform. I am very blessed to be your state representative. My first district, when I was elected in 2020, was the 124th, Park Miller and Park Camden County. With redistricting, I was brought entirely within Camden County, so District 123. And as I said, greatest area of the state of Missouri, beautiful district, freedom-loving. Couldn't ask for a better district to represent. I feel I'm very well aligned with the values here. I'm fully engaged in the community, out and about. I'm not a career politician. I'm actually a psychiatrist. Never in my wildest dreams would have imagined that I would be running for office. That's just not my style. But again, circumstances lead you in certain directions at a certain point. And I did run back in 2020 and have, as I said, this would be running for the second time for re-election. And I believe I have given good constituent services. The most important thing we do as state representatives. I'm willing to meet with people anywhere, anytime, and constantly meet people, whether I'm at Walmart, the post office, we're talking on the phone, people email or text. It's fabulous. I go to events. If you're not in touch with your constituents, again, I have, actually it's about 38,000 people in every district, so there's basically 37,999 bosses that I'm responsible to. And that's fabulous. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's the greatest part-time job that expands to fill all available space. That overtime is treasured. It's wonderful. So just the only thing, 10 seconds. Unfortunately, this is really not a debate. It's a public forum that the public doesn't get a chance to engage in. So I love questions and answers, and I'm guessing that there's people in the audience that would like to ask questions. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to ask questions?
Dave, we're not doing that tonight. We're going to follow. Yep. Please respect how we're doing this, please. I said, please respect how we're doing this evening.
You can't follow the rules, you have to.
Yeah. So that's that.
What don't you understand about that? That's their time, not yours.
So
You can ask questions after.
you can.
This is a debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't ask any more questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. Let's continue.
And to clarify, this is not a forum, it is an actual debate. The first question is to Mr. Jeff Vernetti. You have been somewhat critical of Representative Thomas for not doing enough to help local businesses and the local business community. What would you do to bring business and industry to Camden County that is not currently being done? 2-minute response.
Yeah, I think, again, it's a difficult job, as she said. However, I think that there can be more done to reach out to the constituents. I think being more involved in the community, I'm on multiple boards, multiple different options to actually see the troubles that we're having here. A couple of different things, too, that I think that we need our representation to work with municipalities, state agencies. We're going to have a major transportation issue here, especially on Highway 5, especially, thank God, the toll bridge is open. But the Highway 5 is going to get very congested. We've already seen the news about the Camdenton area, that light back up. We need people fighting for those things, which again furthers transportation things, furthers business here. I think the big thing, though, is actually just being engaged in the business community. Again, that's a lot of the people that encourage me to run, is having somebody with insight into what are the issues that developers face, what are the issues that small businesses face, what are the issues that families that struggle face. That's certainly one. And then obviously with our business being in Max Creek and agricultural area, those guys, especially the Farm Bureau folks, are facing a lot of challenges that they're looking for help on the state level. I know there's issues with meat packing, that there's a lot of competition for those folks, especially in the field of not real meat, labeling issues, things like that they're just not getting the help on the state level. And those are the things that I think our representation really needs, is to be engaged, be active, have active forums constantly, not just around election times, not just around times that are popular to be there. Again, I go every Wednesday to Rotary. I'm always in different clubs, different organizations. You hear from the charities that need things. You hear from the business owners that need things. And that's what I think that we're looking for.
Thank you. Representative Thomas, 1-minute rebuttal.
Before I respond to that, I would like to actually recite the question that the press individual over there has asked, and I would like an answer. I think the people in the audience would like an answer. And that question is, it is my understanding that you, Jeff Vernetti, as a representative of Ballparks National, submitted a copy of a check made out to a turf company for over $357,000, and you were reimbursed from a federal grant. It is also my understanding that the money did not go to the turf company. Where did that money go?
The unfortunate situation is she's getting information from someone that has broken disclosure agreements I can't talk about. Our litigation's already in play, and this is the problem. You've got the Axiom monster. You've got the state Republicans going after people that, God forbid, we give a challenger to someone on the local level. So I will just say there's no legal issues whatsoever with Ballparks National. Everything is in order. Everything is fixed. There's absolutely no issues whatsoever. No legal proceedings. The project's moving forward.
Thank you. This question is, John's first question, Lisa Thomas. Politicians in Jeff City use compromise to accomplish legislative goals. Are there any deeply held positions? Would you like me to repeat it again? Okay, Lisa Thomas. So let's
Okay, everybody be quiet for just a minute, please. Representative Thomas, I read the rules. The person who receives the question gets 2 minutes. The opposing candidate gets a 1-minute rebuttal, and then, well, you got a 1-minute rebuttal, and then he got a fine. You did.
No, you rebutted by saying your question.
Yes, your rebuttal was to read off your paper that you did. That was your that. Yes, it was. So we're going to move on.
This question is for Lisa Thomas. Politicians in Jefferson City use compromise to accomplish legislative goals. Are there any deeply held positions or principles that are non-negotiable for you? 2-minute response.
I think plain and simple, the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. I don't think you need it any more clear than that. That is a red line that we do not cross. There are other principles that we, again, as Republican principles, we do not compromise on. There are a lot of things, however, that even within the Republican Party, we have slightly different perspectives on. And there is compromise to come up with that. As a matter of fact, in our very Constitution, the Missouri Constitution, just so that people know, and I need to find it real quick here. Sorry about that. And old eyes, we need to assist a little bit. Article 1, Section 1 of our Missouri Constitution talks about the origin of our power, and it talks about, of course, that everything originates from the people, but it says that it is instituted solely for the good of the whole, which would imply that there is room for compromise to get the whole included.
Thank you. Jeff Ernetti, 1 minute.
No, as you look at this question, it's obviously one that it's all based on your personal beliefs. And, you know, as a man of faith, a family man, I think the things that certainly I wouldn't compromise is anything that's against those values and beliefs. Again, I think the legislature situation comes together through teamwork, compromise, listening to different values, listening to different beliefs, understanding what the other side of the aisle has, understanding what conservatives want, understanding what we want. But our big thing is, and my personal thing is, never sacrifice my personal beliefs and never have that stand in the way of any bill, any issue. And hopefully that would align with all of our constituents as well.
Thank you. 1 minute response, rebuttal.
Again, there are things that at times we do need to compromise on, not foundational principles, but there is wiggle room in terms of definitions, exactly how, for example, and I know we're going to come up with it, but even school choice. We need to be able to have discussions, full discussions about these topics, and not have a single-minded, one direction answer. There's okay, thank you.
Hold on a second. We had an interruption. Give her 15 seconds.
So again,
Please finish.
Republican platform I fully support and have supported. I've signed the Taxpayer Protection Pledge, which again doesn't mean that there's no possibility of raising a tax, but you have to have a corresponding, at some point, tax decrease so that you remain revenue neutral, and preferably the taxes are lowered. We like smaller government, lower taxes. Those are things we don't compromise on. We're certainly not wanting to become a welfare state. There's lots of things. We protect the unborn. Those are things we don't negotiate.
Thank you. The next question is to Representative Thomas. With regard to school choice, you recently voted for a school choice bill. Homeschool families fear this version of school choice will allow the state's Department of Education to interfere with their homeschool environment. Public schools fear it will harm them financially. Is this fear by homeschool families and public schools valid, or is it unfounded? 2-minute response.
It's certainly not a perfect bill by any choice, and there hardly is ever a perfect bill. However, this is a bill that advances school choice, and I don't believe there's a parent in this room that thinks that any child who's in a failing school has nothing to do with our county. Thank goodness we are very, very fortunate. But there are children in Missouri that are in failing schools, and just by virtue of geography are currently stuck there. So the idea of having parental empowerment, allowing parents to make choices for where their children are best served, we want to advance that. In this bill, homeschoolers, traditional homeschoolers, are walled off and protected much more so than they were prior to the bill. Family FPE, the family-paced education, are those families that would like to take advantage of some of the savings programs and empowerment scholarships, et cetera. For example, someone who might have an autistic child would benefit from using some of those programs. Yes, there are strings when you use anybody else's money, but those families have chosen to do so. And as homeschoolers, they should have that right to do so. Public school got some benefits from this bill. Bill Eigel and the Freedom Caucus supported this bill. They supported the bill before the fixes about the gun issue, for example. I was a no and had told folks that I was a no. We talked about all of that until we got the ability to make some changes in the bill. And I asked homeschool families, and many of them did say, if you could make sure that a homeschool would not be described as a school, therefore you wouldn't have any gun confiscation or those rules apply, then they were okay with the bill. So again, I was able to vote yes. So they are, and I spoke with many people, emailed, texted. I can verify that, and so maybe those aren't the folks in the room tonight, but homeschoolers are more protected today than they were before. And down the road, of course, you always have to watch what could come out of any bill, but it is not in the bill. Homeschoolers are protected. The issue of the deputy juvenile officer or whatever coming from the school and going out to homeschools, that was taken out so that you don't have interruptions, you don't have that intrusion.
Thank you. Jeff Vernetti, 1 minute rebuttal.
My wife's a 24-year educator, so obviously this issue is important to us and our family. And obviously in this area, I've met with so many homeschool families that this was a critical one for them. Even outside that, though, I spent a lot of time in Climax Springs, and this bill really hurts small schools that are going to have a real issue coming up with a way to pay these teachers eventually. It's going to be a very difficult thing. My thing is, again, I'm for the right for families to choose the educational path. I want DESE to have a lot of power taken away from it. I want to change standardized testing and eliminate it as much as humanly possible, because as a parent of someone with a learning disability, those kids, and even further down the line, those with real mental challenges and disabilities, they are pushed aside because of things like that. So education will be a very important thing to me should I win the election, and you will have my word that I will not go against the wishes of the district.
Thank you. Final rebuttal to Representative Thomas, 1 minute.
And actually, I'd like to go back to some comments that Mr. Vernetti made earlier, and he implies that I'm not fully engaged in the community. He's also said that I don't live in the community, and of course, I hope people realize that you're mandated to live in your district. So if he truly thought that I didn't live in my district, he should have filed an ethics complaint, but I don't see that he did. And actually, again, back to the issue of this question, this $357,000 plus has not been accounted for. Yesterday, in the CVB, they said this issue is not resolved. It is not resolved at all. As a matter of fact, a direct quote from the board president was, Vernetti admitted he did not pay the turf company, and he said there is no canceled check, no bank statement. The money is still not accounted for, and that is federal grant fraud. There is no non-disclosure. Sorry, Mr. Vernetti, there is no non-disclosure, and Heather Brown has told you that. So the people that are privy to the information from the CVB, who know this information, are getting it out, and there is no non-disclosure, so any threats...
Thank you. This is let's move on. Not on that one. Nope. This is a question for Jeff Vernetti. Casinos could possibly transform the lake with new jobs and industry. It could also potentially cause problems with traffic, crime, and tourism. Do you support casinos coming to Lake of the Ozarks? 2 minutes.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about the casino issue is legislation wouldn't have a say. It will be up to the voters. They'll have it on the ballot. Personally, again, being born in St. Louis, I lived in Cape Girardeau when we went to school. We've seen the casinos build up, and you see the goods and bads. In the area, I would answer it as a business owner. we desperately need hotel space, convention space. Those things would be a benefit. But personally, I'm not a gambler, not necessarily for those things. So I will be voting no. I don't think it will matter, though. Things like sports gambling, the casinos will be on the ballot, and they will pass statewide. To answer, again, I don't know why we keep going back to this. The issue is when you have someone that's never developed anything, you have no idea how difficult these things are. A simple accounting thing has been spoken for. It's been taken care of. We have no charges. And again, I can't speak anything more because, again, our organization does have a non-disclosure agreement with the individuals that we are working with. She got information of someone from the board that has been voted off, has been trying to defame me. And look, guys, if I lose the election, the next day, you'll see me at Ballparks National, at Vernetti's Italian Grocer. I'll be on boards. I'll be in committees. We're not going anywhere. This beat-down attack is not going to bother me. It's not going to scare me. My wife and I will go home happy tonight. So it's fine. She can try all she wants with all this stuff. It's a private matter between my company. This is about me running. I'm just an employee of Ballparks National who has a small ownership percentage. I have $1 million partners that are handling these issues. I'm just the day-to-day guy that worries about if the turf's clean and if my employees are paid. This is not my issue, but she'll spin it as what they'll do. It's her only thing to attack me on because we've brought millions to the community.
Thank you. Lisa Thomas, 1 minute.
Again, many people on the CVB, they all know that this has happened, and it's not a matter of non-disclosure. There is unaccounted for money, which, as I said, they have described as federal grant fraud. The Department of Economic Development is, even as we speak, determining their legal options. This is absolutely not resolved. It's a slick response, but it's not true. And again, he's very comfortable lying. As I said, he stood right next to me and said, I don't live in the district. And if he's that comfortable lying about something so easily misproven, what else is he lying about? No, I've never started a business, but I certainly support business. I understand business. I just happen to spend my career in hospitals helping people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One minute.
Speaking of lying, you can apologize to all the people in the room that you lied to about the vote. And I've never said you don't have a house here. Of course you live here. I'm not an idiot. I know that. I just know that you have 2 houses in Columbia. Whether you live there or not, that's your business. I'm just saying you have other houses. That's all I've ever said. I never said you didn't live here full time. You just don't live here. Again, I will continue to not answer and bring my company's issues into this. I would rather answer issues, and I'm sure these people would like to decide whether they'd like to vote for me and my beliefs or continue down the path that we're on. And that's what I hope we get to do the rest of the evening.
Thank you. The next question is for Jeff Vernetti. Are Republican leaders in the House of Representatives doing a good job for the citizens of Missouri? If not, what should House leadership be doing differently? 2-minute response.
Yeah, unfortunately, not what the supermajority, and I know even this is something we could agree on. I think that all Republicans wish there was more that was done this last session, especially with IP reform. The system is broken. It's set up for 1 or 2 people to control the issues. You can't have debates like this. The speaker can decide what comes on the floor and what doesn't. Unfortunately, it's a system issue, not necessarily one that any one rep, especially someone that would be new in office, can control. It's really unfortunate that any representative can't bring their constituents' issues to the floor, fight for their area. So, yeah, I think more would have been done this last session and really the last several years if the leadership had some oversight, had different rules, had different policies. It just doesn't lend itself much for anyone that's not controlled by or votes with the leadership to ever get anything done.
Thank you. 1-minute rebuttal, Lisa Thomas.
I agree that there are rule changes that need to happen and things that I would like to see happen, one of which already will. They're going to take away what's called the slot system, which at this point, this past year, any bills that came out of committee before spring break, which is really the bills that have the really only chance or the greatest chance of passing, you could only have 2 from each committee. So what it empowered was chairmen to hear their bills and then load those up as omnibus bills, all of which are bad ideas. I mean, the chairman's bills shouldn't, or chairwoman, depending, shouldn't be any more important than any bill that's referred to a committee. And the idea of omnibus bills is just abhorrent. I think Johnny on the street corner should be able to read a bill, understand what it says. It should be short and simple for everybody so that you know what a yes means and know what a no means. So I do believe we need to have, we will have no slot system, which will be very helpful. I would like to see us, okay.
Thank you. Final rebuttal, Jeff Vernetti, 1 minute.
And one other thing, too, I just don't think that we've had the opportunity to thank the Central Committee in particular. I do believe, and I know that this is a general statement of a lot of conservative Republicans, that there are far too many rhinos in office, there's far too many liberal-leaning Republicans. So I appreciate the committee's opportunity to allow candidates to vet. I think that's been a wonderful opportunity. I was happy to do it. This is my first time running for any office. I had no issues and passed easily. It was a fine test. I like that they've implemented that sort of a system. I'd like to see that everyone has to do it. I know that we can't, but that's something that I'm very proud that I did.
Thank you. This question is for Lisa Thomas. We have heard that John Patterson is being groomed to take over Speaker of the House. Do you support Mr. Patterson for Speaker? And should you and your colleagues make changes to the Speaker's authority? 2 minutes.
Well, first and foremost, that's already a done deal. He was Speaker-elect, so he will become Speaker. So that's already in place. I know Dr. Patterson from the Medical Association. I've known him before he was in the legislature and before I was in the legislature. He is somebody who is a strong leader, and he is responsive to legislators' needs on both sides of the aisle. He is one who can actually, I think, lead our caucus and lead the House. So he is taking away the slot system, because he realizes that's not a good system, so he's taking that away. We will have caucus this summer and make other changes, and of course then in the fall, there'll be time to actually vote and change House rules. That's down the road somewhat, but he will be leading the charge on all of that. So yes, I support Dr. Patterson for our House Speaker.
Thank you. 1 minute rebuttal.
Yeah, as I've looked into this situation, obviously as just a member of the public, you try to look up voting records, and I would believe that the majority of the district, if they looked up as voting records, would see someone that doesn't typically vote with a lot of the things that this district believes. I know there were some issues, especially with legislation that had to do with medical practices dealing with transgenders that, again, he went against the vote that a lot of Republicans that I think most of us would believe in voted with. Things of that nature, I think, are troubling. Being, again, a citizen, I don't have an individual perception of the man. I've never met him. So I won't just sit up there and go solely on that. I just think that the voting record should be looked at.
Thank you. 1 minute rebuttal.
Yes, I'd like to talk about vetting. I didn't go through vetting this time. When I was a candidate the first time and was unknown as Mr. Vernetti, not having a track record in public office, I certainly went through vetting. Missouri Republican Assembly gave me their seal of approval. I had multiple endorsements. I've received the CPAC Conservative Achievement Award, and I'm vetted publicly daily. I have a 4-year voting record, so it was not necessary to go through an additional vetting procedure. As I said, I'm a known quantity at this point. Vetting is absolutely critical for people that are new on the scene and that the citizens don't have experience with. But I'm available, I answer questions, I'm out and about. People know what I stand for. I vote my district. I believe in the definition of representative. It's not my vote. It may be my finger that pushes the button, but it's the vote of my constituents. Again, I represent the district, and I'm very proud to do so.
Thank you. The next question is for Lisa Thomas. What legislation have you championed to improve the lives of Camden County residents? 2 minute response.
Sure. At this point, actually one this year that will be refiled and pre-filed next year again is MoPower, the Missouri Patrol on Wave Runners, to address the fact that we do not have enough law enforcement and first responders on the lake. We don't need to change our laws and have more restrictions. We need people to follow the rules and regulations as they currently are. So as a supplement to what Water Patrol does, because you could double or triple Water Patrol out on the lake, considering the volume, the vast volume of the lake, that would not be enough for people to follow the no-wake buoys and to do all the things they're supposed to do. So MoPower is a task force for individuals to be on jet skis, both actual law enforcement, Sheriff's Department folks, Coast Guard Auxiliary, and first responders from the fire district, to be able to be a presence on the lake. It will absolutely save lives. It will improve lake safety. And it is something that everybody that I've talked to, literally to a person, they get it, they understand it, they think it's necessary, and that includes the boots on the ground or feet in the water individuals that would be doing the job. As I said, it's something that will make sure that we have a safe lake. Anything that happens on the lake, a negative, ends up being international news. If you want to impact your economy, you have people think it's too dangerous to come here, whether that's local residents who say, I can't get out on the lake, Missourians, other people in the U.S., or people from around the world. We already are considered, if not the most dangerous recreational lake in the country. We're always in the top 10 of the lists. We can't afford more in that direction. So again, we need to work on lake boating, water safety. So that's one issue. Also to try to address drinking and boating, which is not a good idea, obviously. Marie's Law, which is signage, stay afloat, don't drink and boat. Church security bills, a number of other bills that are, like Skelton's bill about land reclamation, to have local control, to avoid...
Thank you. Thank you. Jeff Vernetti, 1 minute rebuttal.
You know, I think my stance on the personal watercraft bill, I'll use its proper name, is widely known. I don't disagree that obviously the safety of the lake and the security of any visitor, resident, fisherman is important. I've just spent the time kind of focusing on what we can do that's not legislation based. I've met with all of the first responders, firehouses, the folks that have to send EMTs to their boats to then go to water to accidents. I met with Water Patrol, Water Safety Council, the Captains Association, Marine Dealers Association, and what we're working on as a member of the board of COMC is we're actually going to work on an educational campaign, pulling together all of the owners of any bar and restaurant, all of the marine dealers, all of the marketing opportunities to make this lake safer. You're going to see a big campaign this summer that we're involved with. It won't take legislation. It won't put people in harm's way on a personal watercraft. And it will do it the smart way.
Thank you. 1 minute rebuttal. Lisa Thomas.
I'm on the Water Safety Council. I go to those meetings. I talk to marine dealers. I've been to the sheriff's departments and the various entities that work on the water. And to a group, they have said, well, Camden County Sheriff's Department came up with very creative solutions. They said, we wonder why we don't have a marine division right now. We love this idea. They would like to use it for education. Education is the basis of all of this, but because you never need more than education to keep people safe. But basically, they said, well, let's put dizzy glasses on kids on the jet ski and show them what impaired riding of a jet ski is like, just like they do on roads, so people learn about driving and impairment. They said, we'll come up to the dock and do our bar checks. They can do all sorts of things from a jet ski. It's not a matter of being out on the main channel 8 hours and beating up their bodies. That's never the intention. They patrol in twos. They really like the idea. The Coast Guard Auxiliary is running that up their chain, might end up wanting to use this as a national program.
Thank you. The next question is for Jeff Vernetti. If elected, would you socialize with lobbyists outside of the legislative session?
You know, I think there's a lot of work that is done with lobbyists that is done outside the office. As a person that's been involved with, sales my entire life, a lot of information is done at bars and restaurants. But see my wife back there, she wasn't hesitant about me working in Jeff City anyway. So the second the work day is done, I think I've got to come home or I'm going to be in trouble from that little lady. But so no, I I'm not going up there to party. I was in a fraternity back in college, so those days are long past me. I'm there to do the job of the people in our district that will send me to Jeff City to do it. That is meeting with lobbyists, and those are important things. You've got to have an open door, even to those you disagree with. Maybe you can take a nugget of idea from that lobbyist, or from a bill that you maybe don't agree with most of it, but maybe there's a sliver in there that you can find a silver lining. So meetings are important. You've got to be accessible in the community and on the, in Jeff City. You have to be, without question. However, socializing, partying, the things that does unfortunately happen, that's not why I'm going there.
Thank you. Lisa Thomas, 1 minute.
Yes, I don't socialize with lobbyists outside of the Capitol. And since I do live at the lake, I drive back and forth. Yes, I have a house in Jeff City, and I have homes in Columbia. You know what? God bless America. You can own property anywhere you want, and that's fabulous. But I don't live in those homes. I live here at the lake, and so I'm driving back and forth each day during session. There's occasional times I stay in Jeff City. 95% of the representatives actually do either rent a place or do something and stay in Jeff City. But as I said, I drive back and forth. And lobbyists are a great source of information, but they're just a source of information. I don't have a long line of them at my door, but I'm willing to talk to them. And actually, the very best question you can ask a lobbyist is you don't really necessarily care what they're advocating for. You already know that. You need to ask them, what's the counter argument, or what's the biggest concern against what you're advocating for? And a good lobbyist can give you that counterpoint. That's what you need to learn by talking to lobbyists, and they're useful.
Thank you. Jeff, final rebuttal.
No, I think we both said enough. I'm good.
Thank you. The next question is for Lisa Thomas. Republican voters often tell me they feel like lobbyists and insiders have more influence over politicians than the voters who elected them. Why does this happen? And should there be any rules put in place to break free from these influences?
Sadly, I think that is true, and I believe that came in with term limits. The ultimate term limit should be an election, but when you start saying that you have to run for election every 2 years, you can only be in office for a total of 8. For those that want to aspire to leadership, and I have no desire to be in leadership, they come in kind of with a trajectory. They know what their time limit is, and it pushes them to do certain things and to align with certain people, and term limits empower the non-elected people, whether it's the heads of departments, whether it's lobbyists, whether it's staff in the Capitol. They're there much longer on average than any of our representatives or senators, and they can either wait you out or they have all sorts of strategies they can utilize, and I think that's incredibly unsatisfactory. It thwarts your voice, and it shouldn't be. Unfortunately, that is the situation we have, and I would relish any opportunity to change that.
Thank you. Jeff Vernetti, 1 minute.
Yeah, this is one that we'll agree in part on for sure. The legislative assistants in there sometimes have more power than anybody in that entire building with their tenure and their ability to work lobbyists. The other thing that is too unfortunate is votes can be held over legislators' heads. So if you don't vote this way, money doesn't flow the other way towards you, or maybe you won't get support in your bill. It is clearly back to the rules question from earlier. It's unfortunately a broken system in many regards, that so many outside influences pull the influence away from any legislator from the people that they're supposed to represent.
Thank you. Final minute. Lisa Thomas.
I would agree that it's a broken system. Washington is the big swamp. Jefferson City is the little swamp. There's no question about that. But just because that is the system, you don't have to participate in it. As I said, I don't fraternize with lobbyists outside of the Capitol. I don't have a line of lobbyists. I use them for the information that they can provide. And again, my legislative assistants are at least the intention is for them to get information from the constituents and convey information back. They are not to be lobbying for things themselves. They are not to be fraternizing with lobbyists. I mean, that certainly happens in some people's offices, but not in mine. Just more 10 seconds. Okay. So I would love to see our system be tightened up and again, bring it back to a more streamlined.
Thank you. This question is for Jeff Vernetti. Are you committed to reading legislative bills from cover to cover, and will you vote no on bills that you have not had time to read?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, again, another thing that legislative folks are facing is a bill will start a simple thing that any of us could read, 7, 10, 12 pages, and then it will go into these omnibus bills dropped on their desk. They've got to respond and vote one way or another, whether they're influenced to or not. I just can't, in my right mind, find myself a way to vote for something that I don't have time to read. I read the rules for this debate before I showed up. I didn't think that it would be fair if I wasn't prepared until I found out how we were supposed to participate. I think that's just how I would act in that situation as well. It blows my mind the way that these bills are twisted, tagged onto, twisted in name, and then so many things thrown in the back that while you may like the original bill, there might be so many things that are against your moral beliefs, against the beliefs of your constituents, but then how do you not vote for your original thing? I would just have to vote no for that sake alone.
Thank you. Lisa, 1 minute.
And I would agree with that. I abhor the omnibus bills, and unfortunately, every year, we call them Christmas trees because they hang so much on them, and it's ridiculous. It should be single subject. Unfortunately, people all say that, and then they immediately, like I said, go toward omnibus bills. But I do believe that there are more and more people that are looking at it and sticking to, or at least advocating, I should say, for single subject bills. And if you get enough people, you're going to shift the way things are done. So we're building that coalition to get back to single subject, simple bills as it should be. It's something that we need to focus on so that we know what's in the bills, constituents know what are in the bills. Sad part is you are going to get things dropped on your desk and a last minute, even amendments that are put on the floor. I abhor that. If it hasn't gone through committee and hasn't been vetted properly and you have to vote on it, again, you either quickly read it or you can vote no.
Thank you. Jeff, 1 minute.
No, I think that we've said everything on the topic.
Thank you. The final three questions will be answered by each of you, starting with Lisa Thomas. You will each receive 2 minutes. Lisa, why should Camden County Republicans support you instead of your opponent? 2-minute response.
Okay. I've been in office now for 2 cycles or 4 years, and I believe that I'm well aligned with the district. I am fully engaged in the district. As I said, I'm on multiple boards. I'm out and about with people. I'm seen everywhere. I do live here. Like I said, very simple. And I love this area. I am open and always asking for feedback, because if there is an issue or a concern, then I want you to bring it to me. If there's something that I haven't done, I'm on the radio. I love questions and answers. It's fabulous to be able to interact in that medium as well as any and other all aspects. So I feel like, again, I'm able to represent the district. I'm able to spend more than part-time. It is a part-time job, but I treat it as much more than a part-time job. I call it the part-time job that expands to fill all available space, and I do not begrudge that in any way, shape, or form. So I am honored and humbled to be able to represent this district. I think the day that you drive up to the Capitol and you are not in awe of the fact that your temporary office is that piece of living history is the day you turn around and go home.
Thank you. Jeff Vernetti, why should Camden County Republicans support you instead of your opponent? 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think the issue is I think that anyone is looking for representation that will truly represent not only the values but the things that our community in general is striving for. And that's all that my wife, my family, my staff, my children, my investors, my partners, whoever it is, we've fully embraced and dove into every element. Building things is tough. The grind is real. And I know for a fact, if elected, that grind will be there every single day. I've lived it. I built it. I fight through it. You fight through the noise, and you make things happen. Everything that we have done, that we have announced to do, we have done successfully so far. We built one of the biggest tourist attractions in the area with no tax dollars. We've built a family-based business right in the square that hopefully will be there for our children to enjoy. We've built those things that also is done in an environment where lending is very difficult. Partnerships are very difficult. Dealing with entities that don't want to provide assistance to business is difficult, and I've been through those things. So as you fight for the rights of the people that you represent, I'm ready for the fight. I'm ready for the battle. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves, and I have experience in a number of different levels, from my time on the radio to time in sales to the time from building things from the ground up. And I think that melting pot of experience is perfect for this area, because I truly believe that's what this community is and needs to fight for it up in Jeff City for sure.
Thank you. This question is for Jeff Vernetti. Republican voters would like to see limitations in the size and scope of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, also known as DESE. Will you sponsor legislation to limit DESE's size and scope? 2 minutes.
Absolutely. You can put me on any bill that's currently in motion or help me craft any legislation in that regard. Again, I am pro-teacher, pro-education. That's where our family has, obviously made their living on my wife's side. But it is just turned completely out of control. Now they're pulling in oversight as much as they possibly can to homeschool families, if they possibly can get their hands on any oversight to that. Again, I go back to the standardized testing, though. What kids in public schools have to face now is way different than what we had to face, and way different from people that were older than I faced. They are making it more and more difficult for kids to get a real education now. And also they're taking the power away from us, the parents, to give that education to their kids, to limit pornography or to limit screen time. Look, I get it, all of our kids and anyone younger than us, they're going to be on their devices way more than we ever had paper to write on. But you still have to teach those values, and we're skipping over that and looking for just the next handout in financially. We're looking for the next thing that we can prey upon small school districts. I really and pray that Max Creek and Climax Springs are here in 10 years. The more the system suffocates schools like that, the more those little tiny communities go away. And then it's just all these big omnibus schools. I will never be a part of that.
Thank you. Lisa Thomas, same question. Republican voters would like to see limitations in the size and scope of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, also known as DESE. Will you sponsor legislation to limit DESE's size and scope? 2 minutes.
I'd be happy to do so. That's not actually my wheelhouse. I would be happy to do it, however, and I certainly support the idea. I wish we could get rid of DESE. We talk about that in caucus, and we need to have less intrusion into the school system. We need to talk about just getting back to basics. Where is the reading, writing, arithmetic? Not DEI, not critical race theory, not furries, not gender-neutral bathrooms, and making sure that you properly gender an individual, or you're in trouble and you need to be kicked out of school for that. And boys should be in boys' sports, girls should be in girls' sports. I mean, those are pretty basic ideas, but let school teach, which is what they're supposed to do. Parents should be empowered, and DESE needs to be limited. Absolutely.
Thank you. The final question will start with Lisa Thomas. Lisa, what is the main purpose of representative government as outlined in Article 1, Section 2 of the Missouri Constitution?
Well, again, it's pretty simple. It's to protect your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The rights are derived and come from the people. We should be able to be free to live our lives without government intrusion. There certainly are certain functions that government provides, but limited and not to intrude on us being able to, as I said, live free and independent lives.
Thank you. Same question, Jeff Vernetti. What is the main purpose of representative government as outlined in Article 1, Section 2 of the Missouri Constitution?
Yeah, it's clearly there to promote our liberty, our general welfare, our way of life. But more importantly, I just think that we need less government interference. We need to take back our rights as citizens. our personal lives are infringed on far too much. It shouldn't be this hard to earn a living nowadays. So I think government's job more than anything is to stay out of the way.
Thank you. This concludes the questions and answers for this. We appreciate it, both of you. And then we are going to give each candidate 2-minute closing statements, starting with Lisa Thomas.
Again, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, the Central Committee and the Republican Club for preparing this for us. I'm glad that it's being recorded and broadcast so that it can go to a wider audience. I think that's something we can utilize. Technology is great when it's used as a supplement to get information out, as long as people are cautious with what they do on technology. Again, I would be very humbled to continue to be your representative. I feel I have done a good job. I have represented this district with lots of time and energy. Love the people here. I'm very well aligned with them. I'm fully engaged here and would appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeff Vernetti, 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Thanks to everyone who organized this wonderful event. Obviously, August 6th is right around the corner. Again, I know that most times politicians and anyone running for office likes to make promises, and the one promise I will give you is to go back to what I said earlier. The primary is the 6th. On the 7th, win or lose, you're going to see us in the community. You're going to see us at the ballpark. You'll see us at Calvary Church. You'll see us at Vernetti's Italian Grocer. We are not going anywhere, and that's why I hope that your vote and confidence in me would be one that you can trust, because this is something that was a difficult decision to put our hat into the ring and try to make our community even better than what I hope that we've done in our time here. I really, again, though, appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to continued discussions, but my commitment is to the district, to the place that we've raised our children. I really look forward to future opportunities to talk to all of you and hopefully have your support.
Thank you. Les?
Well, thank you to everyone for being here tonight. I hope each of you found the responses of value to each of you as you look upon both of these candidates. And I want to thank both Lisa and Jeff for being here very much. Thank you. Just in closing, just to talk about a few other things. John already talked about the Central Committee, but the Camden County Republican Club, last Saturday we opened our headquarters in Camden. It's on Route 54. They're right next to McDonald's. So we have a Republican Trump headquarters, and we have a lot of things there for you to take advantage of. There's signs and yard signs from all the candidates. We've got flags, we've got hats, we've got T-shirts, we've got all kinds of things, pens, whatever. So stop by and take a look at our Republican Club. We also are looking for a few additional people to help us take maybe a 2-hour stint, and you could help man that. The advantage of that is that not only do you get to represent the club and we sell some things, but you get to talk to people and like-minded people. And as you can see about what the subjects that are in our face that we want to talk about, both here in Camden County at the state level and on a national level. And that's a real side benefit of that, and I found that to be very true for myself. So I encourage you to stop by the Republican Club there next to McDonald's. I want to comment about the fact that, we talk about voting, which is coming up, and it's very, very important. And as you can see by when we've had the debates from last week for the commissioners and the sheriff, and now tonight for the state rep, this is a very important time. And I've learned, and I hope you have learned it as well, that the primary election coming up in August is very vital to how we do things in this county and in this state. So I encourage you, make sure you take advantage of that and make sure you go vote. We also have in the back, if you want, we have a packet that has been put together about voting and what are all the things that have to do that, when you have to register to vote, the timeline on that, how do you do that, where you can get the information. There's going to be a number, we've got the candidates on there, but there's going to be a number of other things that are going to be on the ballot in August. And if you look at, and I know John has commented about it in the past, our turnout in Camden County is not very good from a standpoint of registered voters. For example, this past spring when we had the election, I think we had like 10% of the people that came out to vote. And this primary is very, very important. I can't stress that enough to everybody. And there's going to be a lot of things on that ballot. So take advantage of making sure you go vote. And if you need one of those packets, pick one up on your way out tonight. I also want to mention from the Camden County Republican Club that our next meeting that we're having will be in July. It's July 16th, and we are, if you've been familiar with our club, we've been meeting at the Community Christian Church in Camden for the last couple of years, and we are changing our location starting in July. We're going to meet at the Osage Beach Community Center, which is right there on 54 next to KRMS Radio. So if just put that on your calendar. If you get our information by being a member, you'll be able to get all that information. But we're going to make a change on that and move away from the church setting into the community center. Thank you again for being here tonight. Thanks for Riverbird for what they've done for us in this last few debates we've had, and we appreciate that very much. And I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you just happened to stroll through their bar area tonight and want another little something to drink on your way out. That would be good. But thank you again for coming. I would appreciate, and John would too, any types of feedback you can give us. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming. Drive safe tonight.